If Congress lets this idea move forward, some retiree could see tens of thousands of dollars vanish from their future Social Security assay. But if you understand it now, you may be able to protect your retirement before it's too late. Stay with me, because over the side-by-side few minutes, I'm going to display you just how this new $50,000 cap could work, who's really at risk, and what every smart retiree should be doing about it. Basically, today, as of early 2026, a serious proposal of marriage is on the table in Washington to cap social protection benefits at $50,000 per year for individuals and $100,000 for married couples at complete retirement age. It's nicknamed the 6-fig limit. Now, you power be thinking, John, I don't get anywhere near $50,000 from societal protection. Why should I care? In a few minutes, you'll see why this mind matters even if your own benefit is much small. Obviously, because it tells us how lawmakers are thinking about mixer security, sort of, and it signals the kind of changes that could be coming next. In fact, let's start with the basics. Surprisingly, what exactly is this $50,000 cap? A nonpartisan consider tank in Washington, the Commission for a Responsible Federal Budget, has proposed qualifying the maximum Social Security benefit any one person can receive to about $50,000 a 12-month and limiting a married couple's compound benefits to $100,000 a 12-month if they claim at full retirement age. And here's the thing. Right now, a very small number of people, basically couples where both spouses earned at or go up the maximum non-exempt wage base for most of their careers and hold up claim, can range or slightly surpass that 6F-figure level. Now here's where it gets good. In 2026, actually, projections show a top-earning couple retiring at thorough retirement age could find around $11,000 per year in combined benefits, which is just above the proposed cap. Under the 6F-figure limit idea, that same couple's benefit would be cut rear to $100,000, and an ace high earner's benefit would be cut back to $50,000. So, this is not a cap on what you can earn while working. So, what does this mean? It's a cap on how big your annual Social Security check can be once you outset claim. Basically, here's where it gets more interesting. The marriage proposal would as well correct that cap depending on when you claim. Plus, if you start early at 62, basically, the cap for a couple would be roughly $70,000. The thing is, and if you delay all the way to 70, the cap could be about $124,000. For singles, consider roughly half those amounts, about pretty much $35,000 at 62 up to just over $62,000 at 70. Interestingly, so the headline $50,000 cap is really referring to an individual who starts at full retirement age, but there's a sliding scale about it. Now, before anyone turns off the video and panics, let's be very open. Of course, this is a proposal, not the law of the land. As of March 2026, Congress has not voted on this. Importantly, it's an idea that a budget watchdog radical put forward as one possible way to help fix social protection's finances, and it has been acquiring a lot of medium coverage and political chatter. Because of this idea, so no one is suddenly cutting your check adjacent month. But if you are in your 50s, 60s, or early 70s, and you require to find higher than average benefit, this is the kind of change that could perfectly show up in a hereafter reform package, and you do not want to be surprised by it. In just a minute, I'll explain how this ties into the bigger Social Security crisis, including a projected 20+% benefit cut in the 2030s if U.S. Congress does aught. What we're seeing is, so you can see the comprehensive image. To appreciate why anyone is talking about a $50,000 cap, you have to know what shape sociable protection is in right now. According to the official trustees report and independent analysis from the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, the main retirement reliance fund for Social Security is projected to be insolvent in the early 2030s, roughly 2032 or 2033. If Congress does absolutely nothing, Stream Law says that when the Reliance Fund runs dry, benefits have to be cut crossways the board so that payments match incoming payroll taxes, depend on whether you're looking at the trustee or the Congressional Budget Office. That agency a cut of about 20 to 25% for every retiree's check. Besides, one recent analysis put it this way. Once the trust store is depleted, old age and survivor's insurance benefits would purl to about 77% of what is promised. In other lyric, a 23% haircut for everyone, rich or poor. Conceive about that. The truth is, if you expect $2,000 a month, that could fall to about $1,140. Or in ours, it could tumble to roughly $2,300 if you expect $3. That's a big lifestyle change. The 6-fig limit proposal is one of several thought designed to avoid that across-the-board cut by trim benefits only for the highest income retirees. Analysts estimate that capping benefit at $100,000 for couples and $50,000 for individual could save Social Security on the order of $100 to $190 billion over the next decade. Basically closing perhaps around 20% of the program's long-term solvency gap, depending on how the cap is adjusted for inflation. Actually, in plain English, this cap by itself doesn't fix sociable security, but it could be one piece of a larger fix, and it targets people with the very largest check. Here's the part that surprises many citizenry today. Almost nobody is actually acquire more than $50,000 a year from social protection as a single person, or more than $100,000 as a couple. Sometimes to hit those numbers, you generally need three things. In fact, number one, 35 years of net profit, very finale, to the social protection taxable maximum, which in recent years has been in the ballpark of the high 100,000s. Generally, second, you can't have big, essentially gaps or low gain age in that record. And third, you usually have to delay claiming to full retirement age or eve to age 70 to stack on those delayed retirement credit. Also, for 2026, financial media reports that the maximum monthly benefit for individual retiring at age 70 is a little over $5,100, roughly $62,000 a year for one person. So, you can see how a two-heir duet, both with high records, can reach or transcend $100,000 combined. The Think Army tank behind this proposal estimates that at least in the early ELD, the cap would affect only a sliver of retirees, close to the top 0.05% of 1% of twosome. That's about 1 in 2,000. Here's why this matters. Supporters say that if someone has earned enough over their lifetime to qualify for more than $100,000 a year from Social Security, they most surely have other savings and pensions to fall back on. Here's the bottom line. And the program should not be paying six-figure checks while also facing insolvency. Opponents actually include some retiree advocates. Argue that this breaks societal security's basic promise. You pay in base on your earnings, essentially, and you should receive the full benefit that formulas say you earned, even if it's a large amount. In a moment, we'll walk through trio stories so you can see which side you fall on and, more importantly, which bucket you personally power be in. All right, quick quiz clip, just answer in your head. Statement 1. Actually, if the $50,000 cap becomes law, everyone's mixer protection check will be cut. That's false. Of course, the idea is designed to touch only citizenry whose benefits would otherwise exceed the cap. Argument 2. If Congress does nothing, benefits will roll along forever as promised. That's too false. Really, under current projections, doing nothing leads to automatic cuts in the 2030s for every single beneficiary. Argument 3, there's still time to adjust your retirement plan before any of this hits. That one is true, and that's exactly why you and I are having this conversation today. Let's go 1 degree deep, because many citizenry hear $50,000 welfare and wonder how on earth Social Security could pay that much. Behind the scenes, your benefit is based on something named Average Indexed Monthly Earnings, or AIME. That's basically the inflation-adjusted average of your highest 35 years of earnings. Social Security then tally that AIME through an expression that replaces a high percentage of your lower lucre and a smaller portion of your higher earnings. Indeed, in other words, the scheme is progressive on purpose. It aims to replace more of a low-wage worker's income than a high-wage worker's in percentage price. To reach just about $50,000 a year at detailed retirement age, about $4,200 a month, you need an AIME in the scope of $13,000 to $14,000 per calendar month, which implies that for 35 years you were earning near the non-exempt maximum. Recent commentary pegs that maximum about the mid-$100,000 range per 12 month. So again, we are talking about very high earners, not the typical retired person whose average monthly benefit is finisher to $1,500 to the $2,000. From a policy perspective, that's exactly why this cap is attractive to some lawmakers. It appears to raise money from a tiny grouping at the very top without touching the middle. But remember, once you accept the thought that benefit can be basically cap, it becomes easier politically to lower that cap over clip. To be honest, and before I go further, I lack to share something with you because a lot of you have been asking for more personalized guidance. Not generic advice, but real-world clarity. I've created something called Coffee with Uncle Toilet if you want help thought through your own retirement situation. It's a small members group where I share deep breakdowns, answer your questions directly, and give you early access to videos before they go public. And for those of you who want to go even further, Uncle John's Club includes members-only videos, deeper discussions, and a closer connection with me outside of YouTube. Naturally, if you are serious about protecting your retirement and staying ahead of change like this, you'll find the nexus right below this picture. There's utterly no pressure, but truth is, all right, let's continue. Let's convey this down from theory and talk about 3 households you power recognize. Names are changed, but the numbers are realistic. Linda and Score, middle-class couple. Linda was a public school teacher in Ohio, and Mark worked in manufacturing. Their combined Social Security welfare at full retirement age is projected to be about $42,000 a year. Even if the 6F figureor bound passed precisely as proposed, Linda and Mark would see no change from this particular cap. They are well below the $50,000 per person and $100,000 per couple thresholds. Think about it this way. Their bigger risk is the across-the-board cut if U.S. Congress waits too long to fix the system. No doubt, a 23% reduction would drop their $42,000 to about $32,000, which could mean downsizing their home or cutting back sharply on travel and gifts for grandkids. David, high take-in executive. David spent 35 L'd as an executive in a large company, earning close to the taxable maximum most of that time. Naturally, he delays Social protection to age 70 and is on track for about $62,000 a year from societal security alone. Under the 6F figure bound, David, as a single retired person, would probably be capped somewhat above $50,000 if he claimed at 70 because the cap scales up with delay retirement credits. Truth is, think a little over $62,000 as a rough limit in that scenario. Here's the deal. In practical terms, though, any cap tied tightly to today, his numbers would almost for sure shave some dollars off the very top of his projected benefit. The Conceive Army tank behind the proposal assumes that someone like David as well has major 401k balances and other investments. From their view, trimming his societal security check by $10,000 or $12,000 a 12-month is less painful than cutting Linda and Grade's check by 23% across the board. Sarah and Joe, small business owners. Sarah and Joe ran a small construction business for decades. Frankly, some years were great, others were thin. What's more, they did not always pay themselves high wages. Their combined projected social protection benefit at full retirement age is about $32,000. Sometimes they wouldn't be touched by the cap itself, but they are just the kind of couple who would be devastated by a large across-the-board cut in the 2030s because they do not have a big pension to fall back on. If you see yourself more in Linda and Mark or Sarah and Joe, your larger risk is Congress doing nothing. High lifetime earnings, strong savings, then proposals like the six-figure limit are aimed directly at you if you see yourself more in David. In the next section, let's talking strategy. What can you actually do with this information, whether you are in the top radical or not? Scheme number 1, stop thought of Social Security in isolation. So, what does this mean? If you are on track for a very large benefit, you almost certainly have significant nest egg in IRA, 401ks, brokerage accounts, or real estate. Futurity reform are likely to look at your total picture, not just your Social Security check. If you are a high earner in your 50s or early 60s, consider that future policy changes may reduce the value of the very top end of your benefit. That may tilt the scales a bit more towards strategies like Roth conversions, edifice up tax-free or tax-flexible income, and making sure your lifestyle in retirement doesn't depend on getting every last dollar from Social protection. Strategy figure 2, recognize your lay claim age trade-offs in a world where a cap power exists. Because your delayed credits might just push you into the cap, if a cap applies at all ages, the benefit of delaying beyond a certain point could be smaller for the very highest earner. Here's why this matters. You may still lack to delay for survivor benefits or longevity protection, but the math changes at the edges. And this is just where a lot of citizenry gets stuck, deciding whether to claim at 62, full retirement age, or wait until 70. When it makes sense to claim early, when waiting pays off, and the mistakes that can cost you decades of thousands over time. I actually made a full video breaking that down step by step. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll link it for you. It's worth watching before you make that decision. Now let's continue. Scheme number 3. Now, here's where it gets good. For everyone else, your focus should be on building backup income streams and reducing fixed expenses, so that if an across-the-board cut happens or if other reforms touch middle-income benefits, you aren't left scrambling. That means give down debt, right-sizing your home, and being realistic about spending in your 70s and 80s. Here's the bottom line. Whether you love or hate the thought of a $50,000 cap, it sends a very open message. Washington is no longer treating Social Security welfare as completely untouchable. That's a wake-up call. Really, so, will this specific cap become law? Naturally, no one can say for certain. What is clear is that serious people in both parties are floating options that combine higher taxes on high earners, slower benefit growth for future retirees, and targeted cuts or caps for the very highest income household. The 6 SOMA limit is just one in a series of ideas from this budget guard dog group. Others include tweaking cost of living adjustments and changing pay sheet tax rules, all aim at closing societal security Security's roughly 4% of payroll long-term funding gap. No doubt, retiree advocator, including organizations like AARP, have already pushed rear hard on the idea of crest benefit, warning that it sets a precedent for chiseling away at what workers believe they have earned. Historically, actually, big Social Security reforms have only happened when there is a crisis staring Congress in the face. Obviously, and that clock is basically ticking for the early 2030s. That's why these ideas are surfacing now. Let's bring this home. A $50,000 social protection cap wouldn't touch the vast majority of Americans directly, at least at first. but it's a flashing munition sign that high-income benefit are on the negotiating tabular array, and that every retired person needs a plan B in case Congress acts late or in a way you don't ask. The truth is, if you found this helpful, do two things for Uncle John. To be honest, number one, share this video with a friend or sibling who's also over 55 and worried about mixer security. Besides, they deserve to understand what may be coming. Minute. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss the next deep dive on retirement planning changes in America. Certainly, this is Uncle Lav from Uncle Can Financial reminding you hope is not a retirement plan, but knowledge and a good scheme just power be. I'll see you in the adjacent video.